Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Greetings and salutations.
Ruben Bressler.
Hey, everybody, ready to start?
Yeah, to jumpstart this podcast. Yeah, let's make it happen. Groan on. We also begin with our choice, the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention, where Ruben will tell us who was the most eloquent, letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 M21 cards. Ruben?
It was a pretty easy choice this week, and it's from an all-star of the comments section, Amber Anarchy, who writes, back in September, we had the announcement of the coming 12 months.
True.
This included not only Ikoria and Zendikar Rising, but also M21 being advertised as the Teferi core set. So how is it that none of you guys included Teferi Master of Time on your lists? A card that not only brought back the Planeswalkers with static abilities that War of the Spark introduced, and brought back phasing, a mechanic in Standard, but also made LGS employees live a misery with its 9 different arts.
I mean, it doesn't have the word graveyard on it, so I tuned out at that point.
Wow.
But
It lets you discard cards.
okay,
which is nice.
that's something.
Which is cool. It does loot. Sometimes when I make lists, I go think something runs through my head like, look, I'm not including this because I know Aaron's going to include it. I'm not including this because I know Ruben's going to include it. And I was like, Ruben's got Teferi, right? We got Teferi locked in. I can go nuts over the 5-drop, Baneslayer in red thing, and we got Teferi. And no one had Teferi. It's one of the best cards in the set, legitimately.
It is.
It's crazy.
And also
good.
the animation for phasing is really nice.
Yeah.
If you haven't played it on Arena yet.
Yes.
Amber's also one of our longest running supporters.
Yes.
If we stream, she lives in the UK, so if we stream, she stays up until an ungodly hour to watch a stream. She's a very active participant in our Discord, very positive, hilarious force. And so there's nobody else that I'm happier to give this to.
Which we certainly appreciate. So congratulations to Amber. Please contact Aaron on our social media before she blocks you on all of them for the lulz. Because why not?
Did you see the last winner from the top 10s? He sent me this tweet and he was like, testing? I was like, you're not blocked, silly. Come here.
Wow.
Goodness gracious. Thanks again to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring this giveaway. And stay tuned for our top 10 list this week. And maybe you can win next week's free gift certificate. All right. So this week we are talking about the top 10 Jumpstart cards. Now, this is one of those where I kind of said, well, hey, maybe they'll talk about reprints because all of my cards are brand new. And it seems like we're talking about a lot of the brand new cards because we're kind of all over each other this week.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, reprints are great. I almost never include reprints.
I didn't either.
Unless it's a exclusively reprint set like Modern Horizons. I mean, there are some very exciting reprints. Craterhoof Behemoth.
Oh, yeah. Oracle,
being
Moldiah,
Yep.
Huge.
Exquisite Blood is one that needed a reprint desperately and madly. And of course, the headliner in the news is the reprinted Rhystic Study that caused some consternation. But I've mostly left the reprints on the bench because we've got new cards to talk about anyway.
Yeah, all of mine are original cards. This is a really exciting set. This is a set that I initially dismissed when it first came out because I'm not a limited player. But the surprise is that this set is for people like me who struggle with limited or aren't the best deck builders. You can literally just pick up 2 Jumpstarts, mash them together, and bam, you've got yourself a limited deck. And so, I went into this set a little skeptical, and by the end of it, I was absolutely in love with it and can't wait to get some, which sounds like it's going to be harder than usual.
Good luck finding it because it's gone, it's sold out, it's very expensive, and there's not going to be any for a couple months likely.
This set snuck up on me in a similar way that Unsanctioned snuck up on me.
Oh, same.
And I feel
I've
like
been over here yelling from the rafters about how awesome this set was all year long. Ever since I heard about it, I was like, this
and
is
much like,
amazing.
and I want to start off with my honorable mention, which are the basic lands.
Yes.
All of the basic lands are exquisite, and they're
really
all
nice.
like targeted. Like, they're all specific. You know what I mean? Some of them obviously are more specific than others and more beloved than others. That Phyrexian Swamp, for example, is like $20 a piece. Yeah. Dog Plains is very popular. But there are, if you want Book Islands or you want
Man, the book
Sphere
Swamp?
Forests. Yeah. Like,
Devil
there's something
Mountain?
for everybody.
The Goblin Mountain thing was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
awesome.
like Venus Flytrap Forest a lot. I
Yeah.
also like Zombie Swamp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool things that they're doing in this set. There's a lot of cards. It's like almost 500, which is incredible. But the supply is the real killer. I'm excited to see what they do with this on Magic Arena, as it's coming to Magic Arena in about 11 days. So we'll see how they make it work there.
It's been very hard getting the cards on Magic Online.
Yeah. The killer is you can deconstruct them and keep having all of these different Jumpstart experiences over and over again. You can build your own Jumpstart packs out of the cards that you own. Just pick a theme and go. Like, it's so brilliant. I can't stand how awesome Jumpstart is. And let's get started with our number 10. Ruben, what's your number 10?
I lied. I do have one reprint on my list, but it is more focused on the art aspect of things, and because this is a brand new art, and it's got to be the go-to art for Terramorphic Expanse now. Because it is just spectacular and gorgeous. Terramorphic Expanse. Somehow, if you don't know what that card does, is a common basic land that says tap, sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. This new art is, multicolored. It's gorgeous.
Ooh.
The previous Terramorphic Expanses were kind of monochromatic. I didn't love them.
Brown.
And this one has all the colors of the rainbow.
That is awesome. Yeah, this is a staple Magic card at this point. This is the de facto fetch land for Magic. It has been printed, 24 times or so, and will be printed 24 more as the future rolls on. It's always perfect in limited decks. It's always sort of what you want in multicolor decks. And
Budget Commander, if you're somebody who doesn't like to spend a lot of money on Commander like me, you never leave the house without your Evolving Wilds and your Terramorphic Expanse. Like, those are your fetch lands.
yeah, and get you a set, get you 2 or 3 sets, because you're going to be using them forever, and that card is sweet. All right, Aaron, what's your number 10?
Speaking of lands on a budget, my number 10 is actually a cycle of cards. We've never seen anything like this before. They're really interesting, really beautiful art. I predict that they're going to see play in both Commander and Pauper. I've heard the Pauper folks are really excited about this too. They're currently going for about $2 to $3, depending on where you go. My number 10 is the Thriving Cycle, which is Thriving Bluff, Thriving Grove, Thriving Heath, Thriving Isle, and Thriving Moor. So the way these work is they come into play tapped, and they each have at least one color baked into them. So there's the Bluff, for example, automatically taps for a red or 1 mana of the chosen color. And then when it enters the battlefield, you choose a color other than red. So you can really build your own dual land here. This is great fixing if you are playing Commander and you are kind of on a budget. You don't want to play your Scoured Barrens or whatever other tap lands you can get your hands on. This is a really great alternative. You can choose depending on where you're at in the game, which is really nice. If you have any way to bounce it, you can reset it. I'm really excited to see what the Pauper folks are going to do about this. I think Alex Ullman was asking about it on Twitter. And so I think these lands are really great. It's a shame they're not in other formats. Like, I don't think they're standard legal, right?
No, they're only legal for Legacy and Commander
and so it's a shame about that, because I think there could be some fun space there. But I think there's something here, and I'm excited to see people use them.
Yeah.
Fixing the problem of enters the battlefield lands or enters the battlefield tap lands, it's been a thing that Wizards has kind of struggled with for a very long time. This is also incredibly digital friendly, which I will note. And for what it's worth in terms of the way they kind of explained it and sold it was that, the Thriving Bluff, largely you're going to have a 2-color deck almost all the time, unless you get the 5-color one or whatever. So Thriving Bluff is going to have the other color of mana that you need. So it's just going to be sort of an expected, I'm tapping for these 2 colors that I'm using in my deck. So it's not a lot of memorization involved, as you would in more of a constructed environment. So I thought that was really cool, terrific sort of way to color fix, be kind of clever about it. And I appreciate the idea that maybe the fixing for enters the battlefield tapped lands is that they tap for 2 mana. Because this one taps for 2 mana straight up. And Amulet of Vigor aside, I don't think it would really break anything if you had a land that just tapped for 2 red mana and came into play tapped. Would you play with that? I don't know. Maybe. I
mean, we've had the Saprosin scary lands before.
Yeah. from back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, so for my number 10 here, we have a creature type that just gets more and more kind of tools over time. And that's, obviously that's right with creature types of all types. See also humans, which they just kind of pass that point of like, oh my god, they made too many good humans, and now humans is just a thing. One day, I think they might get there with Minotaurs. Sethron Hurloon General is 2 red, 3 generic mana for a 4/4 rare legendary Minotaur warrior. Whenever it enters the battlefield, whenever it or another non-token Minotaur enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 2/3 red Minotaur creature token. And for 2 generic mana and a Rakdos mana, that's red or black, so for 3 mana, Minotaurs you control get +1/+0 and gain menace and haste until end of turn. So there was a really there was a really cool card that was just printed. I believe it was in the latest Commander decks, which was Deathbellow Warcry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in standard. Yeah, yes. Deathbellow Warcry
standard.
is a card that you search.
Ruben's like, go on.
Right.
I'm listening.
This to me is like, when they keep giving pieces and they start giving it to weird creature types, and there's just that one thing you need it.
This was in the intro decks. This was a Theros Beyond Death intro deck card.
There you go. So yeah, that card is like weird, silly, crazy. If you put one too many things on the Minotaur, something's going to go weird, and this guy's really sweet.
It's only around 90 Minotaurs, according to Gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there aren't enough yet, but you can certainly get to the point where Deathbellow Warcry is going to be it's going to get to the point where you're going to have enough Minotaurs that you're going to have an infinite combo, or you're going to have an instant game win.
Right.
Sethron is the kind of card, better known as Saffron Olive, that you can probably get there with.
Sethron
most
Olive.
Most of the Minotaurs that have been printed aren't exactly the greatest Magic cards that have ever been printed. But you got your Kragmaw Warcallers to pump all your Minotaurs. You've got a couple of Nehebs of various types, and so it's fine.
It also allows Wizards, because the creature type is known to be crappy, it allows them to make really good Minotaurs to kind of showcase, hey, the Minotaurs don't suck.
I think they also gave us like a Krenko's Command in this set that just makes Minotaurs.
Yeah, it makes 2/2/3
You can
Minotaurs,
always use Changelings to fill in the gaps if you need to. I've done that before, and
I love Changeling.
You could stretch it.
I am astounded. Like, could we not have Changeling back? What's wrong with Changeling? Changeling's brilliant. It was brilliant, for real. Yeah. It was amazing.
I find myself pulling from the Changeling well quite often at EDH, where it's like I just need.
I print when I went back through to my drafts and stuff. Man, I drafted more Changelings than anything during Lorwyn.
They gave us some in Modern Horizons, but I don't remember them being particularly good.
Yeah, they were okay.
If they want to make tribal good again, and we got cats and we got dogs, so if they want to make those good, they'll put Changeling in something in standard sometime.
I would love to see it. Let's move on here to number 9. Aaron, what's number 9?
My number 9 is one of several my only hire. I'm sorry, I have 1 hire and 4 sames tonight. So
holy cow, that's a lot of sames.
Right?
We're on the wavelength. Yeah, holy crap. Ruben, what's your number 9?
I have 3 total hires and 2 sames, and my number 9 is also higher on someone else's list.
I guess I'll carry the load here for number 9, because mine ain't higher or same on anybody's. Carry the load. Wizards has done a lot of interesting work with making cards or making creatures care about toughness. Toughness being a thing, toughness being sort of a mechanic. They define tree folk with that type of stuff. They like to sort of tell sort of stories in many ways. Walls, for example, always have super high toughness. And to be able to kind of turn those high toughness creatures into something interesting, well, they came up with a super cool giant called Towering Titan. And Towering Titan is 2 green, 4 generic mana for a 0/0 mythic giant. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the total toughness of other creatures you control. Sacrifice a creature with Defender : all creatures gain trample until end of turn. So he creates its own monster. You want to play the wall deck, and you want to slam this guy down, so he's going to be a million. You're going to sacrifice one of them to give him trample, and off you go to win the game. That's what it does. I think that's really sweet. I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to put this in my Arcades Brawl deck.
Really?
Or my Arcades deck. It does not. I mean, it doesn't draw a card off Arcades.
Right,
I'm already winning with attacking with my creatures.
Okay, I mean, it seems like it would be an absolute monster in that deck. You should try it.
Yeah,
you should definitely
I should give it a shot. Also, anything that says sacrifice a creature for no cost, is deserving of a second look.
Oh yeah, I'm listening.
I like it. Let's move here to number 8. Aaron, what's number 8?
I've said it before, when I'm not raising the dead, I love casting enchantments. I'm very much an enchantress player. And so this card came out a little bit later in the Jumpstart preview season, and I was immediately hooked, trying to figure out which deck I was going to put this in. Maybe my Marchesa deck, maybe something else. Might even brew something up a little different just for this one. My number 8 is Blessed Sanctuary. So Blessed Sanctuary is 3 colorless and 2 white. It is an enchantment. It says prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. This might also be good in my God Eternal Oketra deck, where I tend to play a lot of, quite honestly, crappy creatures, just so I can get the tokens from Oketra. And even though a token can't trigger this, just casting stupid like a Sky Scanner will get you a 4/4 from Oketra, a 2/2 from this, and you have this kind of, this protection for your creatures, so they can't blasphemous act you, they can't comet storm you, anything like that. And so this is something I'm definitely going to be trying in various decks, although the price might stop me. It's going for what, $15, $20 for this?
Yeah, 18. You're going to have to give it a minute. Like, we got to get in more Jumpstart. The prices we talk about on this podcast are going to look really weird.
Yeah,
Either
so don't tweet us, because sometimes you finance people are like, oh, you are down to the penny. It's like, it's going to change. But just,
This is, as of this recording.
Yeah,
it's
for now they're
stupidly
tripping.
high.
Yeah.
Now, for now,
everything is kind of ludicrously high for Jumpstart right now. Yeah, this feels less like something that you want to play. You definitely want to put it in a God Eternal Oketra deck, because this is like Costco brand Oketra, right? Like this is
wow.
This is like Oketra with the name filed off.
Oketra is like great value.
This is like, Mom, I want Oketra, and Mom's like, we have Oketra at home, and this is Oketra at home. But it also protects you from things like, Volcano Sandstorm or whatever the heck that Red Wrath is. Anything that would, deafening clarions and things along of that nature too.
Yeah, big scary damage to all your stuff spells.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it stays on the board after they cast their, real wraths.
Ruben, what's number 8?
My number 8 is a human. It is a lord, but it is not a human lord. It is instead the first monocolored pirate lord. Corsair Captain is 2 colorless and a blue. For a 2/2 human pirate, when it enters the battlefield, you get a treasure token, and other pirates you control get +1/+1. Just simple, easy, clean. The treasure token is what you want to have on a pirate from a flavor perspective. This effectively costs 2 mana. If you're trying to play tribal pirates in any format, I guess you have to play this and Admiral Beckett Brass as your lords.
Yeah.
This is another one of those creature types that just doesn't quite have enough yet. When Beckett Brass came out, I love the art just like everybody else, and I was like, all right, I don't have a Grixis commander, let's go ahead and build this. And I was a little disappointed, just going through Gather and being like, almost not quite there. And so I don't know if this is enough to push it over, but it certainly does a good job of at least closing the gap, because you're just looking at it and you're like, I don't have enough good cards.
There's only 2 cards now that say other pirates, and that would be the Admiral Beckett Brass and now Corsair Captain.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I'm hoping for more pirate lords. A red pirate lord and a black pirate lord at 3 mana would at least give us options for a potential legacy deck that would be bad, but it's like once you get to a certain number, then you can be a reasonable option.
Yeah.
Ruben, I gotta say, the more I look at this, it looks a little bit like you.
Does it? I will
tie your hair back and just give us some skin.
We're
Is it
almost
time for topless rubes.
Well,
I
mean,
come on.
We almost have enough for a pirate ship, because I look like the Deadeye Quartermaster.
Look at these
like
guys.
The Corsair Captain.
Look at these guys' jaunty shorts, better known as jorts.
We have to find a pirate that Evan could be, and we could be just the pirate show.
Yeah, I will need to get the double ponytails at some point. We're almost to that point in quarantine where I'm going to have the fun buns, but we aren't quite there yet.
Ruben Fun Bunsler.
Yep.
That's the name I danced under in college.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Fundo. All right. My number 8 is higher on someone else's list. My number 7 is higher on someone else's list.
Oh.
Aaron, do you have a number 7?
Yeah, my number 7 is affordable. It's going for less than $2 currently. It's a really simple, clean, honest effect, which you wouldn't think I would like, because normally I like broken things, but it does let you return something from your graveyard to your hand, so I'm immediately on board. My number 7 is Archaeomender. Archaeomender is 2 colorless and a blue. She is a creature type human wizard with 2 power, 3 toughness. When she enters the battlefield, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. I'm a big fan of Archaeomancer. If you can't necessarily afford a Snapcaster caster. It does a fine impersonation of just bringing an instant or sorcery back that you can cast again. I have Archaeomancer in my Sharoom deck because I also have a God Pharaoh's Gift theme, and this also plays very well with that. I can return an artifact from my graveyard to my hand. If it dies, that's fine. God Pharaoh's Gift, bring it back. You can also do things with Conjurer's Closet, which I also have in that deck, of just sort of repeatable effect. And so this is just a really, nice, cheap effect. It's a common that I'm absolutely going to be looking for.
That's awesome. Yeah, this card is really sweet. I love the artwork, the mending the vase, which is really sweet.
There's a name for that, where you mend a broken vase with gold.
Oh,
the Japanese
thing.
Can't think of the name of it, but yeah,
it's very nice.
Yeah, and this is one of those cards that honestly I was expecting it to be a 2/2, but we're in 2020, so now everything is like
Archaeomancer's
sweet stats.
2/3,
isn't it?
Is so many stats.
It's good stats, like seriously good stats. I think at a 2/1 we'd still be thinking this card's pretty sweet, but like
because
a
Archaeomancer's
2/3.
only so Archaeomancer costs 1 more and is a 1/2.
Correct.
Interesting.
Archaeomancer
Also-
4 mana 1/2.
Also came out in Magic 2013, which honestly didn't feel that long ago.
7 years ago.
Hold me closer, Archaeomancer.
What year is
Oh my
it?
God, Ruben, what's number 7?
I'm your Archaeomancer.
I love it. My next entry, what number am I? 7.
Number 7.
Is any card that allows me as a red mage. Now, there are some things that red cards do, right? Lightning bolts are great. Dealing damage to players is great. But every once in a while, you do want to have, like, a big red, right? You like your Terror of the Peaks. You like to have your, your
Archsloggers.
Chandra, your Arksloggers, your Rakdos Pit Dragons, But alongside those, you need to have your Flame Sweeps, your Stormer's Wraths. How about your Immolating Gyres?
Oh, no.
Oof. Oof, and boy, howdy is Immolating Gyre a wrath. Let me tell ya, 4 colorless red sorcery, it's a mythic, and it better be. Immolating Gyre deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker you don't control, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard? Oof. Ooh, boy.
You don't control.
Ooh,
Don't control? I did not catch that on first read. What?
Yeah. Yep. So that's a red Cyclonic Rift is what that is.
That's insane.
Yeah, that card's ridiculous. Perfect alongside Cyclonic Rift in your red-blue spells deck. Pretty decent alongside, if you have like a Riku of the Two Reflections deck, if you have like any sort of threat in play, much less something like a Mana Gorger Hydra that can just eat your spell and then continue to just pound people. Card's insane. Card's unreal.
What's going on in that art there? Like, at first I thought it was somebody with their hands, like, who replaced with, like, fire, like, ribbons. But the more I look at it, I'm like, what's going on?
This appears to be a monk. No, this is a monk surrounded by bad guys. And they have activated a wind tunnel on themselves, a fire tornado on themselves, and have shot flames out of the bottoms of their feet and their hands and are spinning around.
Right, where his feet are, that's actually another person on fire. That's a head right there that's on fire. That's why he looks a little strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
wondered
bananas.
why they call me the Dragon of the West? Sorry.
Nice armor you had there, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So would you pay 6 mana for that effect? Would you pay? Would you pay 6 mana if this said deal 4 damage to each creature and planeswalker you don't control? Yes, you would. This just deals X. This goes to the sky.
I have done that.
Yeah. So wow.
So like you have your options of things like Magma, Quake, and Storm's Wrath. This is even more one-sided. Obviously, it's 6 mana, but
But goodness gracious, that is awesome. All right, let's move here to number 6. Aaron, you have 8 million sames. I'm guessing.
So my 6, my 5, my 4 are all same. So who do I got? Who am I with?
Number 6, you are with me. Because I love me a sweet enter the battlefield ability. I definitely love it when it's busted in half and Wizards is like, you get it? It's fine. You get the ability. It's going to be super dope and ridiculous.
And the body's good.
And the body's fantastic as well for the rate. Oh my goodness. Tell us, Aaron, about Scholar of the Lost Trove.
Scholar of the Lost Trove is a Sphinx, 5 colorless and 2 blue for a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant, sorcery, or artifact from your graveyard with without paying its mana cost.
Get out of here.
If an instant or sorcery spell cast this way will be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Why, yes, I would like to cast this and then get an Inkwell Leviathan for free. Thank you for asking.
Wow.
This is going to be the part of so many combos, like for the rest of Magic's entire history. Okay, and then you reanimate the Scholar of Lost Trove, and blah, 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 and pay so-and-so for nothing, and then you blink it so you can do it again.
Oh my god.
Like, this isn't a cast
trigger.
trigger.
This. You can dread return it. So many dumb things.
My first two thoughts with this card are Platinum Imperion. And God Pharaoh's Gift seems quite good with this.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, this card is dumb, and it's just going to do stupid, terrible, crazy things.
Not to mention stuff like Overwhelming Insight. Or
You're forgetting enchantments. You can get Omniscience. Or that's an enchantment.
Nope,
Sorry.
not enchantment.
Got ahead of myself. Okay, sorry.
Only 3 types. It's cool. It's fine.
right.
My God.
Chromatic Orrery.
Like,
Mirror Battlesphere.
it just feels like somebody was like, it's like, okay, you get to cast an instant or sorcery, and somebody was like, you know what? An artifact. And then I was just like, that was it. That's the last thing they did to it. Because why not?
I mean, you can walk the Eons. You can do Time Twister shenanigans of all kinds.
Yeah, momentary blink this thing to do stupid, crazy stuff. Ruben, what's number 6?
My number 6 is one of the 3 hires on someone else's list.
Oh, okay. Well, we took that number 6 and ran with it. That's what we did.
You did.
All right. My number 5 here is higher on someone else's list. Ruben, do you have a number 5?
You and I got a 5
and
together.
We share our number 5, and it's a card that I've talked about a little bit, so I'll let, if you want to go, Aaron, because
This is a card that I just want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I look at the art for this, and I'm like, I mean, I love Magic art, but like this looks like a D&D monster.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know,
I want it.
You know, some people, they joke about being like, the crazy cat lady and all that stuff. Oh no. I want to be a Witch of the Moors. That's what I want to be. Witch of the Moors is 3 colorless and 2 black. She's a creature type human warlock, 4/4 with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature. That's each opponent, friends, for those playing Commander. And you return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
Why is that a card?
It's a warlock.
Why does that? Warlock is a creature type.
That's a cool creature type. This card is dumb. This card is
very
dumb.
stupid.
I can't.
If there was any way to cosplay this, I would 100% do it.
Oh, yeah. Get those mannequin hands.
Man, play a game land. My turn's over. Bye-bye. Go ahead.
Or just have like a blood artist in play and a sack outlet. Like, this card is an insane Dirkwood Boar.
This was my number 7, by the way.
Yeah. Triggering this thing is not going to be hard. Yeah. The Grave Pact effect is not going to be difficult to trigger in any deck worth its salt. It's a card advantage engine. It's just, oh my god, it's just everything.
It does
and it's
everything.
Just cool to look at. Like,
and
the
it's so cool to look at.
Great.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of hags. I'm a big fan of hags in D&D. Not hags in, I'm a big fan of hags in general, but hags in D&D are like one of my favorite creature types.
Everybody has a type, as we were talking about, Aaron.
Right.
For some, you gotta go the hag route. It's fine.
Yeah, to me, this seems like, it almost seems like an evolution of there's the one from Eldraine that had the apple, and then it was like she evolved, and now she's this, and it's just like, this is great. This is exactly
what happened when the Eldrazi got a hold of that witch from Eldraine.
Yes.
And then
Write it
all
up,
the
wizards.
hands came out. Freaky crazy. God.
I love this card.
All right. So my number 5 is higher as mentioned. So let's move on here to our number 4. I'll take the first number 4 here because this card is dope. This card is interesting to me in sort of the way that it's structured. And it's very cool because I can imagine there's going to be an interesting commander deck that's built around this in different ways. Because the ability to essentially fix things is so innate in the card. It's in the name. Kels Fight Fixer.
Oh.
It's 2 black, 2 generic mana for a 4/3 rare Azra Warlock.
Yep, Azra.
That's an Azra Warlock that has
menace. Azra was introduced in Battle Bond, so they're making a comeback here.
So and it has menace, and of course, it being Battle Bond, it's about competition and messing with stuff. Right. So it's a 4 mana 4/3 menace. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may pay a Dimir mana, a blue or black, and if you do, draw a card. And for 1 generic mana, sacrifice a creature : she gains indestructible until end of turn, which is pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Not a free sack
Not
outlet.
a free one, but you can manipulate it. She has menace, which makes her very hard to block, and then you can make things indestructible, which is a cool thing as well. So, yeah. I'll take it.
Amazing art by Magali.
Magali
continuing to, you look at the thing that strikes me the most about this is the angle. I feel like I don't see too many examples of an upward kind of shot. I feel like we either get like a dead on, or we get a far away, or we get a downward. But this angle of her really kind of sitting down, kind of counting her chips. This is really good art.
Yeah, she's the HBIC in this photo, and you definitely get that feeling from it.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel like she's fixing any fights other than her own, is my one complaint about this card. Azra are sort of the tiefling-like race originally from the Battle Bond expansion, and so being paired with a warlock makes total sense here. There's a little bit of dissonance between like what her title is and what her types are.
I agree.
But
even the mechanics don't seem very like, if I'm thinking fight, I'm thinking like combat. I'm thinking something, but it just sounds very.
I would have thought that this would have been like an Azra advisor, or
this feels almost like there's a story element that we don't know.
Yeah, that we're not missing.
That would make all this make sense, for whatever reason. You're never going to read that. So which is never going to have you read that. Ruben, what's your number 4?
Voice of all, get at us. Well, I share my number 4 once again.
Oh yes,
and
same.
Are you proud of me, Ruben? Look at this.
I'm very proud of you. This is nice, and I appreciate your newfound love for goblins.
Nice.
However, I'm going to go ahead and take this one as I let you handle Witch of the Moors.
Do it.
I'm going to take my boy. This is a huge chonker.
Come get your boy.
Seeing legacy play, I think.
Oh Lord, he coming.
Oh,
Muxus Goblin Grandee. Granddaddy. Is 4/4 for 4 colorless red. He is a goblin noble. Put some spec on that name.
Legendary.
He is legendary creature goblin noble. When Muxus Goblin Grandee enters the battlefield, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put all goblin creature cards with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them on the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When Muxus attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, and seems like a ridiculous thing to have happen on a Magic card.
And goblins tend to be pretty affordable. There are some expensive goblins out there in terms of mana cost, but by and large, like my Pashalik Mons deck has an average CMC of 2.79. So it's not hard to get this thing going, especially if you have a good enough density of goblins. This is seeing legacy play right now. There was a 5-0 Goblins League the other day. They're very hard to find on Magic Online, but it looks like somebody found at least one copy, and they did 5-0 with it. So this is seeing a 6 mana goblin is seeing legacy play.
No one's paying 6 mana.
No one's paying 6 mana.
No one's paying 6 mana.
But this is something I definitely want for my Pashalik Mons deck. This is an ETB ability, so if you can find a way to abuse that or blink it somehow, or if you can copy it, which Red is very good at, if you have it in your graveyard, you can Felden it, you can Mimic Vat it. There's all sorts of dumb things you can do with it.
Oh, I want to Sensation Gorger this. That's what I want to do.
Oh my goodness, Ruben, this is the family show. You say.
What is Sensation Gorger do?
Mog Catcher. Mog Catcher it into play at the end of the turn.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. But this card's absurd.
Wow. Sensation Gorger, for those who don't know, because it came from Morningtide, it's 2 red and a generic mana for a rare 2/2 Goblin Shaman with Kinship. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with Sensation Gorger, you may reveal it. If you do, each player discards his or her hand and draws 4 cards.
I've heard the art has a couple Easter eggs in it. I'm just looking at it now. It looks like there's a Belcher in the background.
Oh, there's all sorts of weird stuff in there.
Yeah, and so this art is fantastic.
Yeah. The card's neat. I didn't really like Kinship, personally. It was too...
Kinship's stupid.
Yeah, it's not very good, but whatever. Anyway, moving on.
Muxus is great. Muxus is
I love that
cool.
the guy with 5 kids and family doesn't like Kinship.
All right. So let's move on here to number 3. Aaron, what's your number 3?
Wait.
You samesies again? You samesies
I'm
again?
good. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Oh my god, my 3. Sometimes you look at a card and you don't know where it's going to go or what it's going to do, but it has all of the earmarks of being broken. And I'm not a brewer. Like, I don't know anything about that. I'm getting better at being a brewer, I should say. But there's something about this card that just makes me want to break it in half. My number 3 is Ormos, Archive Keeper.
Yep. This was my number 9.
It's so beautiful. So Ormos is 4 colorless and 2 blue. Legendary creature Sphinx with 5 power, 5 toughness, and flying. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, which is a place I've found myself many times, instead put 5+1/+1 counters on Ormos, and then you can pay 1 and 2 blue and discard 3 cards with different names to draw 5 cards.
This card is
And so to me, this is just a weird twist on like Lab Maniac, where it's like instead of just outright winning you the game, it has like this Voltron-esque quality to it, where it's like, I'm going to deck myself, I'm going to make a fat Sphinx, and I'm going to kill you. And so I don't quite know how I'm going to do this. This is obviously goes very well with the book islands that we've seen, but damn it, if there's anybody building this, I don't have a mono blue commander. I've wanted one for ages. Attempts didn't really work for me, but if anybody has a list, ship this to me because I would absolutely play it.
Sphinxes are so stupid, and they are all so stupid, and I love them all because they're so stupid. And every single one of them is ridiculously overcomplicated and needlessly mysterious, and this is another one that has just an absurd... I mean, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead...
Yes.
What LSD trip did we go on? Where we got to that sentence.
All right, look. In every, I would imagine sort of every store, there's the leveler guy. And you're like, dude, and he's just, they live the leveler life, and they're like, everything I can do with leveler to exile my entire library from the game as quickly as possible. That's what I want to do. This is the leveler card of all leveler cards.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And Leveler has only been reprinted once as a Mystery Booster Retail Edition foil, and otherwise only in Mirrodin.
So does this mean that you don't lose the game? Like if you would draw
instead
of as it is a replacement effect, it would go on forever until you literally die from Doomblade.
So if you have this and Lab Maniac in play, you don't immediately win the game. Instead, you make a 10-10.
Exactly. Instead, you make this a 10-10. Ruben, what's number 3?
My number 3 is a card that has a couple of words on it that are always good, they're always expensive, and it is no surprise to me that this card is $32. Branching Evolution is my number 3.
My number 5.
Two colorless and a green gives you an enchantment that says whenever one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. I mean...
They use the T word, and Aaron, you know all about the T word. They use the T word, and here we are. And it's incredible, and everyone wants it and wants to be a part of it. You know what we're talking about.
It's funny because you look at this and you think that this is... Like, I remember when this first got previewed, I have friends who, I have a friend who has a Marath deck, people that you thought would be interested in this, and they'd be like, nah, it's not really broken enough. It's not really doing enough. It looks like it was supposed to be, dare I say, like a fixed doubling season.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's still doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's going to be absurd. Like, twice just kind of knocks it. There's been a trend, at least even in standard, of, if this gets a counter, you can add one more. It's cool. It's fine. But double...
we've had Winding Constrictor. We now have the green-white one.
Conclave something or other.
Conclave Mentor.
Yeah. But no. Twice is twice, which means you go nutso, it also goes nutso. And this card is sweet. It's priced to move, as it were, for only 3 mana. Get this going on turn 2 with a mana dork. Let's make it happen.
It's also just redundant.
Yes, exactly. It's more copies of that effect in your deck, which is all you really want. I mean, with Aaron's new Bay, whatever that 3-color monstrosity that gets 1,000,000 counters when it enters the battlefield. Cathril, yeah. Or Skullbriar, Aaron's other favorite. Or any Hydra, like literally anything with the letter Y in its title.
For my number 3, I was not prepared for the unbelievable price of this card right now. Currently a $54 Mythic Rare. And I can imagine just reading it, I think you'll understand why.
my number 6.
Allosaurus Shepherd.
My number
is
9.
Bananas. This card is ridiculous. It is 1 green. 1 green mana. What does 1 green mana get you on a mythic card?
Way too much.
What you gonna do with all that mana? Well, you get a 1/1. Fine. It can't be countered. This is happening. That's just this is going to happen to you. Green spells you control can't be
Spells, bitch.
countered.
That is natural order.
All the
That is
spells.
glimpse of nature. It's happening.
It is happening. This is going on in your world
Green
right
Sun
now.
Zenith. Yeah.
And it keeps going. We ain't done. For 2 green, 4 generic mana, until end of turn, each elf creature, which includes itself, you control, has base power and toughness and becomes a dinosaur. In addition to his other types, he becomes a dinosaur. That's incredible.
And it's not like
I love
Elves
this
has a hard time making mana, so that
Right.
6 mana is going to be very easy to make. And then all of those crappy little dorks, all those Quirion Dryads or the Druids or the
absurd.
Birchlore Rangers, they're coming for you. Like,
This card is a better Vexing Shusher and a slightly worse Craterhoof Behemoth in one card.
yeah.
Yeah, all together. Like, it's just so
Wild.
insane. It's carved like it's not a legend, so you don't care about that. Like, there's just so many amazing things about this card. All the numbers,
It's
all
crazy.
the words. Jesus,
Card's absurd.
it's incredible. Let's move on here to number 2. Aaron, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is a card that you would look at and not necessarily think me. It's red. It has to do with attacking, but I have not been able to stop thinking about this card ever since I first saw it. I've been doing some crazy brewing with it. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out for a time when it is, because I will absolutely play this. My number 2 is Zurzoth Chaos Rider. So Zurzoth is 2 colorless and a red legendary creature devil, 2 power and 3 toughness. Whenever an opponent draws their first card each turn, if it's not their turn, you create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. So get out your temple bells, because we want them to draw. But we don't want them to wheel. We want to reasonable draw. Whenever 1 or more devils you control attack 1 or more players, and this is any devils, not just the ones you make with Zurzoth, you and those players each draw a card and then discard a card at random. So you obviously want to be playing a lot of devils. You want a lot of 1/1 creatures. You want your Cavalcade of Calamities. You want to just burn people out. From what I've read in initial testing, you don't have to jump through a lot of hoops to get this thing going.
Right.
So, you should be able to do this quite seamlessly, quite effortlessly. I love devils as an archetype. I don't think there's enough of them to really support this. But I'm loving all of the brews. People have sent me several brews. This is just one of the most exciting cards I've seen so far.
Yeah. I mean, there aren't a ton of devils available just yet.
There's no Devil Lord,
No Devil Lord.
No.
which is really
You
interesting.
do have Hell Rider, which is a playable magic card. You have
Kinda.
Tybalt Rakish Instigator, which is a playable magic card. I
Right.
mean, there are ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of card that you don't even need anything else to make it go in Commander. Everyone is drawing extra cards.
Right. Or
So-
everyone's drawing their first card every turn anyway, so you're going to get
Right.
a 1/1 every single turn, basically guaranteed. This is, I feel, a really interesting way for them to put the discarding at random, but make it not feel so bad. Because you're
Right.
getting free creatures, and then you're getting it's only triggering once, not having to do it over and over again. So, yeah, you kind of get that crazy feel, but you also get the power and the upgrade of the free tokens,
Yeah.
which is sweet. All right. Ruben, what's number 2?
My number 2 is higher on someone else's list.
Interesting. What could it be? We'll see. All right. So my number 2, we got to talk about a very blessed sanctuary. But there's a $30 mythic that sits on top of that Pegasus pile, y'all.
Oh, no.
All right. It's super cool. The numbers are juiced. I love it. Emiel? Is that right?
Emiel. Sure.
Emiel
Or
the Blessed.
Emiel. I mean, whatever.
It's only a meal if you're playing Feast of the Unicorn. Am I right, ladies?
Nice.
Emiel the Blessed is
That card is a whole... It's meal. What that is.
Goodness gracious. 2 white, 2 generic mana for a 4/4 mythic legendary unicorn. For 3 generic mana, you exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control.
Displacer.
Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a Celestia mana that's green or white, and if you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and if it's a unicorn, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. This thing has, like, I was not expecting a 4/4 for 4 mana out of this thing. That's clearly pushed. I was expecting this to be at least 5 mana. It has all the sweet abilities that, like, it's all the numbers just kind of work. Like, this is the sweet legendary unicorn you want to be in your unicorn deck. It triggers off all your other cool unicorns, which often bring tokens and things into play. Emiel's great. I love it. This card's fantastic.
Emiel's amazing. And it combos with, like, every card you're already playing. Like, you're already playing, you know, dorky elvish visionaries and wood elves. So, like, you know, this thing just makes all those things better. Much less if you have, you know, Guardian Project or something ridiculous to keep the engine going.
Right. And because it has that Celestia color identity, you can add all those cool visionary
You can play it as your general. And by the way, 4/4 for 4, that is massive.
For white. That's like, incredible.
What are you?
Yeah,
that's really sweet stats. Just until M21, there had never, ever been a 4-power, 4-mana white creature in Magic the Gathering. And even then it had to be in the form of a +1/+1 counter because it's Bossry's, Lieutenant or something.
I played that at the pre-release.
Yeah, which is a great card. But it doesn't have a 4 printed on it for 4 mana like this one does. Which is incredible. Yeah. All right, let's move on here to number 1. Let's solve the mystery. Pull the hood off. Old man clamp it. We figured out what it was. This is the hire from Ruben's number 2. This is the same. Aaron, we share this one. Clearly. Because this card is adorable. It's wonderful. I love it. It's stupidly expensive. I'm never going to copy this card for the next 3 or 4 months if I wanted one. Yep. But you cannot deny the absolute adorableness of Tinybones Trinket Thief. It's great. It's so good.
I screamed. I legit, the minute this crossed my Twitter feed, I was like, oh my god.
It's so
this
cool.
Precious baby. So Tinybones Trinket Thief, it's so cute. Is 1 colorless and a black legendary creature skeleton rogue, 1 power, 2 toughness. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. You can also pay 4 colorless and 2 black each opponent, so that's each for our commander friends, with no cards in hand, loses 10 life. Jason Rainville, incredibly talented artist, he did a bit of a breakdown in terms of how Tinybones got here. There was a bit of confusion over Tinybones' gender, because he had called it My Sweet Boy. And then when the Jumpstart bios came out, they indicated that it was kind of an Ashiok thing, where it was, Tinybones has a family, Tinybones needs to steal. They were very careful not to say that. But regardless, there's just been nothing like this, where, you see this beautiful little creature carrying a bunch of Mox Emeralds, the hut's on fire behind them, their head turning like almost 360 degrees.
Like, they're clearly booking it. That's what you like. They booking it right here. They are
die
running.
For this card. This card just won social media over, where people were like, we need to know what this is. We would die for this creature.
I need more Tinybones in my life. I need Tinybones pins, posters, lunchboxes.
There's a number of decks out. Tomer from MTG Goldfish put out within a week, he had a deck tech going with this card, and so it's just a beloved. It's like the Yargle of the set, I think.
Yeah,
it's just
sure. Absolutely.
Except it's $50.
Well, yeah. Tinybones.
I would pay $50 for him.
Yeah, I mean, it must be protected at all costs.
Oh. That's right.
Tinybones. I mean, there are cards that are just backbreaking in Commander that you're already playing in a deck.
Yeah.
That you would love to, like Bottomless Pit, or Necrogen Mists are ones that trigger this every turn. So if you're in a 4-player game and you go Tinybones Bottomless Pit, you go, you discard, I'll draw, you discard, I'll draw, you discard, I'll draw. My turn? Cool. Like, I've already gotten my value out of my commander. Card's insane.
Card is absolutely terrific and a wonderful design. Super cute. Love it. It's fantastic. Ruben, what's your number 1?
All right, Evan, I need you to get up the script for the introduction to the show.
Okay.
Oh.
The script where you ask me who the honorable mention is.
Okay. All right, cool.
Read the script to me.
All right. We'll also begin with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention, where Ruben will tell us who was the most eloquent, letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 Jumpstart cards.
So what I need you to do is replace the word eloquent with the word grandiloquent.
Oh, no.
Because Bruvac the Grandiloquent, my number one card.
Yes.
Bruvac the Grandiloquent. Yeah.
He's also almost $50. What?
He is two colorless and a blue mana. For a legendary creature human advisor, he is a 1/4. If an opponent would mill one or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. To mill a card, a player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard, and furthermore. Yeah, this card's perfect.
Card's amazing.
I love it. It's got horn turtle stats, so it's surviving your suffocating blasts and deafening clarions and your lightning bolts, which is great. And it's what you want to do in this style of deck. So here we are.
Mill has always had a very dedicated, small, passionate audience that just wants nothing more to do than mill people. You know, they love their mesmeric orbs. You know, they play their mind funerals or whatever they need to do, their glimpse of the unthinkables. They just want to mill people. And, you know, it's sort of like Dredge in that, you know, they don't get very many toys, but when they do, they're usually very good toys. And so, you know, the right people were looking at this and just losing. The rest of us were like,
right.
And also, said this was $45. I was like, you are joking.
The right people were losing their minds.
Well, you know what? First of all, this is the Persistent Petitioners general. And so you could have a commander deck that is nothing but this card, Persistent Petitioners and Islands, which is hilarious and amazing, and I love it. Mill 24, get you. Yeah. And it's awesome. I don't like milling. I never enjoy the ability when it's used on me, essentially. I always feel that sense of loss, even though, like, your deck's random and who knows what's at the top of it. I always feels like, oh, I'm never going to cast that card in limited, you know, when they go to your graveyard. But, you know, those who love it. And Wizards is, again, getting dangerously close to you print one more card with mill on it that costs just like a mana or two, and you make it too good, and suddenly, boop, you got a legacy deck that mills somebody out in like 3 seconds. Exactly. I mean, Archive Trap has been playable at many points.
Oh, I have walked into that card before.
Glimpse the Unthinkable has been playable during its time.
I don't like being milled either, which you would think that I would like that sort of thing, but it's different when I'm not in control. It's just like when I'm Thoughtseize. I hate being Thoughtseized, but if I have a choice and I'm choosing to discard, then it's on. But if you make me, I'm not a fan.
So grandiloquence is lofty, pompous, or extravagant language, especially in a way that is intended to impress. And so I think that fits for what we want our winners to do. All right, and that is our top 10 Jumpstart cards. You'll see them on screen now for your review. Take a look at my list, Aaron's list, Ruben's top 10, and we want to hear from you about what card we did not talk about, and we'll select our favorite to win a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you for having me, and furthermore, I have additional things to say, but all right, we'll stop.
Oh man, no bones about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
As we
I already did the Tinybones voice, so...
to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv at magicmics, on Twitter at magicmicescast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes and Spotify. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.